First thing we're gonna do is remove the hood. You're gonna wanna cut this grommet here in order to feed wiring through. We already have a winch installed, so ours is already cut. Let's head on into the machine. Remove all the seats from the machine. We're gonna remove the 6 push pins holding the lower portion of the trim panel in. The push pins are located here. There's 2 back and behind. There's 1 here, and also 1 here. If once those are removed, go ahead and remove the panel and set it aside. Remove these 3 push pins, and then remove the following T30 Torx screws. Next, we're going to pull this driver's side trim panel out just enough so we can gain access. We already removed all our hardware, so you're just going to grab a hold of it, pull it out. Once you get it pulled out this far, we're going to come up here and we're going to remove the bezel for the gauge cluster. Just want to pick up on the back side of it here, pop it off the 2 tabs, and it's got 2 tabs on the side as well. And we'll just set this aside. Pull the handle to dump the bed backwards. We're going to go ahead and remove the pin and the shock, that way we can gain access easier. We'll let the bed go as far back as it can. We're going to take our harness and find the 2 plugs that go to the rear of the machine. We're going to start feeding them through this grommet. You may have to pull the grommet out enough to get the harness started through. We're also going to show this portion of the plug through. And once you start feeding it in the hole, you want to go on the inside and make sure that this portion of the harness goes down behind the dash. So once you've located your wires that you've pushed down through the dash, you're going to want to pull back the trim panel that we just previously loosened and start feeding the harness in between the trim panel. You start feeding the harness all the way back through. Pull a good amount of slack through the hole there. Pull back this panel enough so you can see down in here. Continue running the harness. And then this hole right here, you're going to want to push the wiring harness for the turn signal kit. You'll feed the wires through till they're coming out at the back of the machine. Then we'll go back to the back here. Then locate where the wires were coming through. And you want to pull your harness through like this. You want to make sure that you run it on top of the frame. You'll locate the factory plug. Then you'll take your popper tool, pop it off the frame here. Go ahead and disconnect it. We're going to take the SuperATV harness. We have the female end. We're going to go ahead and plug it into the male on the machine's harness. Make sure it fully snaps in. Then we're going to take the female from the SuperATV and go to the male on the factory. Make sure it snaps in. You can go ahead and take this connector and put it right back in the spot where it was on the frame. And we're just going to want to make sure that we take the harness and wrap it around the frame. That way it's not interfering with anything. When the bed comes down, we don't want it to get smashed or anything like that. Make sure that you got a good amount of slack. You don't want it pulled too tight. This harness does fluctuate a little bit whenever you lift up the bed. We're not going to be using a license plate light today, so we're going to fold this portion of the harness up. We're going to put some electrical tape around it, and we're just going to zip tie it straight to the harness just to make sure it stays out of the way. We're going to come back up to the front and we're going to locate the portion of the harness that says column switch on it. This is going to plug into your turn signal stalk. We're going to push it back through the same grommet. You want to make sure this goes through as well. This is to your indicator light. Once we get it fed up in the grommet here, when you're feeding this, you want to make sure that you feed it towards the right because it's going to end up where the dash column is. So we're going to feed it up towards the right, trying to make sure that we get it up on top of the column there. And we're going to head inside and make sure that it's going in the right location. To remove the actual dash cluster in order to gain access to reach behind the dash there to grab the harness to pull it through. We're going to go ahead and remove our screws here. We'll just lay this out of the way, put our hardware in a good spot. And we're going to reach back, locate our harness, and pull it up and through. Once we get it to this point, we're going to head back up to the front. We're going to take our harness that has our turning signal leads on it. We're going to find the side that says left, which is going to be the driver's side. We have the side that says right, which is going to be the passenger side, and we're going to feed it through this grommet. It's easier to pull the grommet out. Feed them all through the grommet, like this. We're going to do the same thing with the driver's side. The harness pulled through there. We're going to make sure, okay, we got the right side, so it's going to be the passenger. We're going to feed this one over towards the passenger side of the machine. Take the driver's side and we'll feed it over this way. And you can go ahead and put your grommet back in place. And we're going to go down below the machine and start running our wires. You're going to find 6 turn signal lights in the kit. The awesome thing about SuperATV's turn signal kit, you can use 2, you can use 1 on each side, you can use all 6. Totally up to you. You can mount them wherever you want. One thing you want to keep in mind though is your state's law. You want to make sure that you're compliant with those. We're going to go ahead and mount ours here. We're using a bumper. We're going to mount them out here. We're only going to be using 2. We're going to go ahead and drill the holes. We're going to be using a step bit today. You can use a 3/4 inch drill bit. We found the step bit just makes the best holes. So here's one of our marked locations. We're going to make sure that we get the bit as centered as possible. Got our holes drilled in our plastic. So now we're going to take one of our turn signal lights, the wires through the hole, and go ahead and peel the grommet. You're going to want to insert it in the hole. Make sure the grommet's fully seated. You may have to push on the back side as you push the indicator light through. Make sure it doesn't get wrinkled. And then you're just going to want to repeat the steps for the rest of the holes. We got our turn signal lights installed, so now we're going to go ahead and connect our harness to the harness on the turn signal lights. I'm going to take the white wire, which is labeled ground, connect it to the white wire on the turn signal light. This is going to be the signal light for the left. This is going to be our hot wire. So we'll go ahead and connect it to the black. We're going to do that for both of them, since we're only using 2 per side today. If you have any excess wiring or excess plugs, on the plugs you want to take some electrical tape. Go ahead and tape these connections up real nice, fold them up, zip tie them to the frame, and then repeat the steps for the opposite side. The next step is going to be to install the flasher relay. You can mount this any place you like depending on what you got. You know, if you have a bunch of accessories wired up, you may want to mount it inside. We don't, so we're just going to punch out one of these holes here and use a bolt and just bolt it right to the machine. You're going to want to locate the portion of the harness that has the two markings that says 12 volt and ground. The ground wire is going to go on the center post of your accessory bar, which is located underneath the hood. If you have a newer model, General, you're going to have to buy an accessory plug. You can get one of those from SuperATV.com. But on this General, we just have the accessory bar, so we're going to go ahead and remove this nut here. Go ahead and remove the washer. Set it aside, and we're also going to remove our 12 volt keyed on accessory nut. Set these aside for just 1 second. So this one's labeled ground. We're going to lay this on the center stud. Take our washer, reinstall it, as well as our nut. Get that started. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to take our 12 volt key it on accessory source, which is our far left post again. Slide that on the stud. Place the washer down. Start the nut. We're going to want to go ahead and tighten these up now to make sure that we get a good connection. Whenever you get them tight, you want to grab a hold of the connections, make sure that you can't move them side to side. If you can, you need to tighten it up a little bit more. And we are good to go. The kit's powered up now, so let's move on into the machine. We're going to install the horn. This is another one of those things you can mount it up wherever you'd like. We found the best place to mount it is right here, using the hardware from the coolant jug. I'm going to go ahead and remove the screw here on the far left side. Once you got it out, you just want to set it aside for 1 moment. You're going to want to take your horn, orient it like this, so that way it's projecting the sound forward. I'm going to lay it down in here, and right here after the dot you can see there's a slight bend. We went ahead and bent it. Just going to want to make that bend there. Lay it down like that. Take your hardware, tighten it back up, and you're going to take your wiring. One of the other things with the horn, it doesn't matter if you wire this one to be the hot one or this one to be the ground. Either way, the horn will work. So we're just going to feed it up through here. Make sure both connections are nice and tight. And then this nut right here, you're going to want to make sure it's tight as well. We're going to take our turn signal stock, go ahead and plug it into the harness that we previously ran up through the dash. Make sure it makes a good connection. So one thing you may wonder is what these two connections here are for. It's for the indicator light that's included in the kit. You can install it. The customer that we're installing this for decided he didn't want it. He was going to be okay with the indicator light that's on the stock. So we're going to show you how to ground that out and how to get that to function. So we're going to take our provided band clamp, run it through the holes here, just like so. We're going to tuck our wiring back up into the dash, get it out of the way. Push our cluster back. We're going to take the clamp and get it started on the opposite side of itself. You're going to keep tightening until you get it to where it's secure. You want to make sure it's out of the way of the tilt adjuster and in a good location where you can easily access it. Then you're just going to want to go ahead and fully tighten that up. This is going to be the ground wire that grounds the indicator light for the stalk. The bolts that you previously removed that holds the cluster on. What you're going to want to do is take this ground wire, stick it right on top, and then insert your bolt whenever you go to fully tighten this back up, and that'll make your good solid ground. Now that the turn signal kit's installed, go ahead and reinstall all the components you removed to make sure all the wiring's tied up out of the way, and you're good to go. And that's how super easy it is to install SuperATV's turn signal kit on this General 1000. For more information on this kit or any of SuperATV's great products, give us a call at 855-743-3427 or check us out online at superatv.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.